Hello, good evening, and welcome back. So, more evidence to show that leftists are just being children. They are people who have not yet emotionally evolved to become adults. They are people who have been indoctrinated too long with universities, establishments which are set up to prolong your childhood for the cost of your adulthood, to ensure that you are protected in a bubble and never actually have to face the woes of a real world and making a name for yourself and being responsible and actually having to get by off your own merit. What do I mean by this? I mean that children are having nightmares about climate change, with 1 in 5 saying they are losing sleep over the environmental crisis, survey reveals. So yes, of course, the thrust of this is to say climate change is such a big issue that now children are losing sleep, and you've got to think of the children. What kind of inhumane monster would not consider what the children are feeling? Well, hi, I must be your inhumane monster, because as traumatic as it is for children to be feeling a certain way, I am more concerned about the facts, and therefore, if children are feeling a certain way, I would like to get to the root cause of it and ask why they are feeling this certain way. And if I find out that they are not afraid because of things that are true, and instead it is because of indoctrination peddled by fearmongers wanting to create a stir and just appeal to the emotional response instead of actually deal with things like an adult in a calm and responsible manner, then I will get bloody pissed off, and I will be the inhumane monster in which you wish to call me. So yes, it is the case here. By appealing to rhetoric instead of logic, by appealing to emotion instead of fact, the leftists have, of course, recouped their main target demographic, which is young people, it is inexperienced people, it is people who don't understand the world. And in doing so, instead of saying, oh, we might have a problem here by not actually having any merit whatsoever, because the only people who believe us are people that we say have to believe us, instead of that, instead of actually taking personal responsibility, they say, oh, will you think of the children because they're so scared? They don't say, we might actually be doing damage to people by getting children worried about things that even they think adults can't fix. They just think, oh, children are scared, that means it must be true. It's like, well, what about the bogeyman? What about the monster under the bed? What about afraid of the dark? Are these things that we should all be afraid of as well? No, of course not, because children have irrational fears. And yes, sure, they're peddled by adults, even those things themselves, by adults being afraid, and like pedophiles as well, that they're very, very unlikely. We're now in a safer environment than we have been for quite a while, if you ignore the Islamists, of course. Then yes, we're far safer. You're born with a fear of heights and a fear of loud noises. Everything else is learned. So the same goes here for the climate catastrophe, or as the Oxford Dictionary mentions, eco-anxiety. So the study surveyed 2,000 children, so reasonable sample size, something like this, in the UK from the ages of 8 to 16. The poll found 1 in 5 are having bad dreams about climate change. What kind of things do these dreams entail? Well, you can imagine children having their runaway imagination, which is actually very good for artistic endeavors and if they're unconscious of trying to tell them something, but it would basically just be their family burning. Nearly 80% said the problem is very important to them. Yes, if you want to talk about how apparently it's a conservative government that is in charge, you might want to then look into how 80% of children aged 8 to 16 think that climate change is very important to them. So, bravo conservatives for conserving the leftist agenda from 20 years ago. Really great job there, guys. However, at least 2 in 5 do not trust adults to tackle the issues. Yes. You might think, 2 in 5 don't believe it. No. 40% do not trust adults to tackle the issues. That is how fucking insane this has become. So they've been able to persuade 80%, 4 in 5 children, 8 in 10, however you wish to clarify it. Children, so let's say a class size of 40, so 32 children, think that climate change is a huge problem. And of course, they're then going to try and persuade the rest of the 8 that are on their own, and then you'll have about 2 or 3 children who are loners anyway and don't give a shit. And well done to you. Be your own person, for fuck's sake. But on top of that, you've got half of that, 2 and 5, 20%. Sorry, 40%. So of those 40 children, you've then got 16 who don't trust adults to tackle the issues. So they trust the adults to say, oh, there's a huge problem with climate. It's like, oh yeah, we believe you. It's like, oh, and the solution, it's like, oh, we don't trust you to have the solution. Which suggests, seeing as they're buying into it firsthand, which is from adults telling them there was an issue, that then these adults are telling them that adults don't actually have the answer. What kind of an environment are you raising children in to say, hey children, there's this terrible problem that these authorities have, and they're not doing anything to sort it, and can't fix it for you, and they're fucking you over. If you want to talk about anxiety and children having a bad time, then you're doing an absolute shit job for them, aren't you? If you really wish to push your agenda, then what you would be saying, if you wish to be nice to children as well, is to say, hey children, there is a terrible problem with the environment and climate change at the moment. What that means is you guys have an amazing opportunity in order to be saviors for humans for the planet. Yes, you do. You can actually be the ones to sort out this problem once and for all, and we will give you all the information we can to establish a great foundation to encourage you to actually fix this problem. But they don't. They basically just say, you're fucked and we can't help you. But moving on. They say the study was conducted by BBC Newsround. Okay, so a biased sample. In collaboration with Savanta Comres, surveyed 2,000 children in the UK from the age of 8 to 16 in a bid to see just how the younger generation feels about the changes to our planet. So they're basically going to go for the narrative of, hey, think of the children, they feel so bad, you must do something to help the children. They wouldn't be thinking the response would be, hey children, don't worry about it, they're full of shit, don't worry. Milankovitch cycles will come into effect within the next few years, and in about 15 years, it's going to be colder, so don't worry. But, of course, that's what we're going to say. And hey children, if you really want to be concerned, then go tell China to shut the fuck up and to actually stop polluting. But you won't, will you? No. Or you can mention India as well if you want, because you've got the Yangtze and the Ganges River. So, yep. By all means, head out to India and China and tell them to stop polluting. But you're not going to, so it doesn't matter. Because we all know that if you're a dissident under the Chinese Communist Party, yes, the Chinese Communist Party, then you will just be fertilizer for the next year's crop. And we have Greta Thunberg trying to look as young as possible to really pull on the heartstrings. Yes. And this shows that she's trying to appeal to children and mothers, because if she was trying to appeal to men, she'd look sexy. Sex sells, what can I say? So the poll found that 73% of the participants are in constant worry about the planet's current state, including 22% who are very worried. Oh no. So sorry. If only there was something you could do about it, but of course you've been told there's nothing you can do about it, so it doesn't matter, does it? It's like, come on. Come the fuck on. I don't know when it happened. I really don't. But it seems like in the education system, and this pisses me right off, the teachers are told, hey, these are children, treat them like children. They're never told, and they never act upon the fact that, hey, these are people becoming adults, becoming people who have to fend for themselves and will create their own families, all being well. So how about you actually teach them how to adult, and you don't teach them to constantly be relying on somebody else? That would be a bloody good lesson to attend. But they don't teach that. No, of course not. They just say, hey, these other people that you have no impact on are making decisions that impact you heavily, and they're not making any decisions to help you, and you can't impact them at all. That is essentially all they are saying. They are not saying you are accountable for your own actions, be the strongest version of yourself possible, and actually make a positive impact on the world. That is not the message they're sending, and that is entirely the message they should be sending. How the fuck can an education system get away without telling children, you will be an adult, you are responsible for your own destiny. The sooner you realise you are responsible for what you get out of in this world, the better. Because that means you can take responsibility for the situation you find yourself in and improve it. Or if it's in a good place, you can keep it there and you can make the most of where you find yourself, or improve it if it's in a bad place. Until they do that, we're fucked. And it's such a simple bloody message. And if you want people to have a talk at your school for it, there are so many success stories that can nail that in straight away. And what will that mean? It will mean children will stop flunking the lessons because they'll realise they're not going to be given anything. They actually have to fucking earn it. And unfortunately, in this day and age, given the zero tolerance on bullying, the only children that get taught this are ones that are bullied, because they know no help is going to come for them, and they actually have to find a way to get out of it themselves. So I guess I'm lucky for being bullied as a child, because that means I know I'm responsible for where I am, and I'm responsible for my family. That's what it taught me. Whereas the other ones who just coasted on through don't get told that, and they have to try and figure it out somehow, instead of being told almost blatantly to say, you are a screw up, you're a failure, nobody likes you, and you've never been loved. Because they don't get told that, but I'm sure you and me do. So until the education system tries to tell them a similar story, maybe not as harshly, it ain't going to help itself, and they're going to be constantly relying on some outlying forces and not realise that it's their responsibility. If you think climate change is an issue, look into it yourself, decide if it really is. If you really think that it is, do something to sort it. Don't think, oh, it's so bad, it's giving me nightmares, and the adults can't fix it. Here's a fun fact, and I hope this will help any insomniac or alcoholic out there, because it definitely helped me, that if you're having trouble sleeping at night, it's because you've got things going on in your head. If you've got nightmares, it's because of things going on in your head. So if you have these problems, you do have to address them, I'm sorry to say, and it will be painful. Of course, you can drink and then pass out and then you're not thinking of them, by all means, but that ain't going to make you feel filled with pride in the long haul. And for any long-time viewers of the channel know, my goal is to give you pride. It's to make you happy for the things you have done, not necessarily happy doing the things you're doing. There is a difference. It's satisfaction compared to just happiness. It's like love compared to lust. So, the idea is, you have something that is keeping you up at night, you actually have to think through a way to fix it. It does not mean you have to fix it straight away. It does not mean that at all. What it does mean is you have to be happy that you've come up with a solution to cause incremental change in order to resolve the problem. And you can actually do that in 10-15 minutes of meditation. Even if it's bad, maybe if it's been going on for decades, you need an hour, sure. But that's still an hour. That isn't a thing of, oh, life is shit, I gotta get to sleep and this is keeping me up, oh no, what am I supposed to do? It's a thing of address this head on, think about what can be done in order to solve it. Because I promise you this, as soon as you are happy that you have a way to solve it, even just incrementally, as soon as you are happy that you have a way to progress with it, you will sleep so much better. You will actually get to sleep. So for anybody that has a busy life, and if you drink at the end of the day to de-stress, if, as difficult as I know it is, if you actually decide to be sober, as long as you wish for it to be, you might decide to drink before you sleep, whatever, but at least do this, not for me, for you, or not for you, for me, whatever you want, but do try, take a moment, and think, if I were to try and sleep now, what would fill in my head? And you will have things. You will have things come to you. So instead of distract yourself with alcohol, at least immediately, give yourself 5-10 minutes and just think, okay, what can actually be done about this? And if you can't come up with anything in 10 minutes and that's all you promise yourself, go drink, whatever, that's up to you. But chances are, within a minute or two, you'll actually start to develop a solution to the problem. And then you'll be happy with what you've done. And if you want to drink after that, as a congratulations to yourself, fucking go for it. Why not? You've done more than you probably have in the past few months, so well done. You've earned it. But hey, at least the next day you might think, I remember what I was thinking of last night, and I'm actually going to increment that change. And from the notion of Kaizen, which is Japanese, which means incremental change, means a lot in the grand scheme of things, essentially, you will actually notice that you're having a positive impact on your life. So the same goes with these children. If only they were bloody well told how to be an adult. And that is the main thing that's missing from education system. It's like, oh, here was some maths, here was some physics, some chemistry, some biology, some English, some foreign language, some history, some geography. It's like, great, how do I cash a check? How do I move money about my accounts? How do I actually learn to be an adult? How do I develop my emotional intelligence? So, oh, all of those things which are far more important and actually reliable skills when you have a job and actually succeeding as a human, you're on your own, mate. So, oh right, so the most important things we develop ourselves. If we have to rely on ourselves to develop those most important traits, why the hell can we not rely on ourselves to develop these less important traits? Instead of just fucking over their heads with climate change. What the fuck kind of child abuser is it that says, oh, hey children, hey, how are you? You feeling good? Fantastic, let me ruin your day for you and tell you there's this irreversible change that's going to happen in 12 years, which is too soon for you to do anything about it, and then your life is going to be shit. Enjoy. Oh, and by the way, the adults can't do anything about it either, because they're too incompetent, because of Jump and Johnson, and whatever the fuck you want to say. It's like, great. Well done, you indoctrinating assholes. What do you want, a pat on the back? Or a holiday in the Bahamas because it's hot there instead of cold here in Manchester? Oh, great. So, they've said Britain's Oxford dictionaries recorded a 4,290% increase in the term eco-anxiety in 2019, particularly among young people. They're so anxious about the environment. If only we could do something about that. Oh, we can, but they're not going to. It's like, okay, government, you really care about the environment. How about every new house has to have a south-facing solar panel, because that's where we get the most sun in the north. It's like, oh, you're not going to do that because that means they're going to be separate from the national grid, and therefore you can't control them by charging them for their electricity and seeing what they do. Oh, so you don't actually care about the environment, you just care about how to implement control into the most amount of people. Well, I think the mask is really fucking slipped there, hasn't it? Oh, right. So yeah, this whole climate change thing, as far as I'm concerned, is just a way to try and control the populace. Because if you really wanted people to help the fucking climate, then you would allow more of a free market sign and say, hey, you know, or even not free market if you want, if it's such a big fucking problem, then the government would decide you've got to have those south-facing solar panels, or we're not going to tax south-facing solar panels at all. Get as much as you bloody well want, and you might be thinking, oh, what about people with like barns and all that, and they're going to install more solar panels than they need. They're going to be more than self-sufficient. It's like, oh yeah, that's such a huge fucking problem, isn't it? Them actually supplying sustainable energy to other people. Unless you think solar panels aren't sustainable because of the materials required to make them. But that's your fucking problem, isn't it? Yeah. Or nuclear, like Hinkley Point, which you're making the Chinese build, because your regulations make it so fucking expensive. So, again, why do you mention climate change so fucking much when you don't give a shit because your regulations stop people from making changes about it? It's as if all you want is control over the populace, and now you're giving children nightmares about it. So I'm not going to have any guilt in children having nightmares, because I don't take any of the blame whatsoever, because I can solely plant the blame at your fucking feet, huge government. And I'm sure all you guys would agree with me as well, that if it was up to us, we can explain it to our children, we can explain away the problems, or if they really feel that way, give them the tools in order to deal with it. But the government, all they want is control, and they're not going to help at all. So hey, until next time, be an individual, do what is right for the world, be a positive impact in the world, because you know that you are responsible for the situation you find yourself in, and you are responsible for getting yourself out of it. So stay strong, and until next time, have a good one.